Today, I want to talk about a spiritual perspective on the quest for perfection. That's right. Do you have this idea that you must be perfect all the time? Do you have that idea? Because I certainly do. And what I know about perfection, it holds me back. It holds me back tremendously. What I've done is I've developed the idea that 20% effort gets me 80% result. Now, how can I divide my effort? You see, the relentless pursuit of perfection, while it may seem to be noble, it can lead to discontentment, stress, and a sense of inadequacy. Because when we're seeking to be perfect, we're saying we're not enough. And then you've got to ask the question, what is perfection? That's a great question, isn't it? And who's to be the model? What's to be the model of what is perfect? 8 billion people on the planet. Is there a perfect person? Not so. Everyone on the planet is unique. We see movie stars and we're told we want to have a haircut like a movie star. We want to wear clothes like a movie star. We thinking that the movie star is perfect. No, they're just individuals with an image. Do you see that comparison here can lead to a great sense of discontentment? Is perfection even possible? Let me go on. Let's continue. I believe this quest for perfection is misguided. And I suggest we focus on our goal to living a more fulfilled life. You see, I gave up living a perfect life. I gave up trying to be perfect. And what I embody now is, am I fulfilled? At the end of the day, do I have a sense of inner satisfaction that I did my best, that I touched lives, that I fully experienced life? There's no perfect way to experience life. The only perfect is to be fully present in life. And being present is not the same for you as it is for anyone else. So I'm making an argument, a case to give up this quest for perfection. I know that in school, I strived. Well, I didn't strive for much when I was in high school and college. I got B's. Why? Because I could get a B with minimal effort and would keep my parents off my back. Little did I realize that was a great thing to adopt. Now, when I went and got my master's degree in consciousness studies, I took that a bit more seriously. But you know what? I wasn't perfect, but I did study the best I could. I grasped the information the best I could. And I think I graduated with a 3.85. Not bad, but it wasn't perfect. And you know what? It didn't matter. Because no matter how much education I got, the best education that I've learned is life experience. And that, my friends, is a school that never stops. And you may never have a perfect day. There will always be challenge in a day. So just make the most out of every day. So let's talk about perfection. First, let's talk about the illusion of being perfect. We are bombarded daily about having a perfect body, a perfect career, perfect relationships, and perfection in many other areas of life. Social media is so out there talking about that your body should be this, that. In fact, they have an outline of how long your nose should be, where your nose should be in relationship to your eyes. And this determines the sexiest people on the planet. Really? I don't know about you, but looks are not what really attracts me anymore. I'm attracted to the energy of a person who's open, a person who loves themselves, a person who has a lust and a joy for life, I can see that it radiates from them. Those are the people I want to get to know. Not only do I want to get to know, I want to know what is their secrets for being this unique expression of energy. Because I know that their secrets might help me, but I'll never be their energy. Do you know why? I'm not meant to be. I'm meant to be Lee, just like you're meant to be you. This idea of the illusion of being perfect, think about this from a spiritual perspective. Perfection as defined by society is an illusion. This perspective is always changing and unattainable because it's based on external factors and comparison. We judge based on the external, and it means nothing. You'll see billionaires out there. They've got all the money in the world, all the toys, all the trinkets. Do you feel that energy I was talking about earlier? Do you see the glow? Do you see the happiness? Let me share you a little secret. While you may look and see me when I talk to you on YouTube or on podcast or on any one of my many mediums that I'm talking to you on, there are times when I'm challenged just like you. I'm not always Mr. Smiley, Mr. Upbeat. I have moments that I need to reflect and recenter myself. And I embrace those moments because I believe perfection for me is balancing the challenge and the support. Because we will always be challenged and we will always be supported. But we don't see it that way. We want to be supported. We want to be happy all the time. And we seek that from external sources, from our partner, from our friends, from our work environment, from our money, from our vacations. Those are wonderful things to enjoy, but they're not going to bring you what you're seeking. True perfection does not come from what we achieve externally, but rather from our inner state of being. In other words, perfection is an inside job. That's why I love to meditate, because I calm my mind, I relax my body, I create that inner state of peace. That inner state of peace runs through my life. I demonstrate that. Right before I came on to do this talk with you today, I meditated to bring myself into a peaceful state where I could communicate effectively the message I desire to share with you today. Let's talk about perfection and human nature. The human experience is inherently imperfect. It is our uniqueness, it is our imperfections, as we call them, and combine that with our vulnerabilities that make us human. That's right. We're not gods that we're perfect right here. We're humans. Let me rephrase that. We're spiritual beings having the human experience with a body, with a mind, and an ego. And in order to have an experience of the mind and the ego and the body, there's no such thing as perfection. There's got to be contrast. There's got to be yin and yang. There's got to be duality. Without duality, no experience. You've got to be able to feel pain in order to know pleasure. How would you know pleasure if you've never known any pain? The beauty of being more aware is that you can minimize the effects of the downside. And you can also realize, don't be attached to the pleasure. It is attachment to the pleasure or attachment to avoiding the downside that'll cause you more grief than you can imagine. The thing you want to perfect is seeing life as always in balance. If you can. You're not going to all the time, but you can do your best. And that's the key here. It's not about being perfect. It's about doing your best in a moment. The pursuit of perfection, which is unattainable, distracts us from the real journey of life, the journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. When I talk about spiritual growth here, I'm talking about increasing your awareness that you are spirit having a human body, that you're not your body, you're not your mind, but you have them. Spiritual growth, you can't grow spiritually. You can only become more aware that you are fully spiritual. And that's the journey of self-discovery. The perfection of getting great grades, excelling in the corporate world, those could be great distractions because we're willing to sell our soul for money, sell our soul for power, for prestige. And do they really work? I did it. Didn't work at all. I gave it up. I decided to follow my path, my heart. I decided to listen to my heart, which knew at a young age I was to be a spiritual teacher. I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was to be a priest, and I realized that's not it, because I am not about organized religion. I am not about dogma. I believe that love is the only religion. And love is what? The awareness and acceptance of our wholeness. It's about doing your best in every moment and experiencing all of life. It's not about following dogmatic rules to fit in. That's the illusion. I suggest you consider giving it up. When we're looking at this thing of perfection, we must embrace imperfection. When we accept and embrace our imperfections, we open ourselves to transformation. Our perceived flaws are but growth opportunities. They teach us humility, empathy, and resilience. Think about that. Every time I make a mistake, every time I see a flaw, I get the opportunity to open up and transform my life. I see that when I make a mistake, it's an opportunity to grow, to not make that mistake ever again. Or maybe it's not that big a mistake. I don't have to think about it. But it also teaches me to be humble, to realize I do have both sides, and to realize so does everybody else. And so by embracing imperfection, I can be more empathic to all those I meet on the journey. And then as I overcome, as I grow and I become more aware, I'm resilient. I see life as a constant journey. It's not a battle, it's a journey. When we embrace our so-called imperfections, we learn acceptance and we learn how to love ourselves and others without conditions, free from societal expectations. See, if I can embrace my imperfections and accept them, I can embrace my partner's imperfections and accept them. I can embrace yours and accept them. You see, let's even question that. Are they imperfections or are they judgments that we blindly have bought into by how society thinks we should be? And with social media today, the way things are going, we are being bombarded constantly about who we should be in this world. I've given that up. I go on social media to post inspirational messages like this for you to reclaim your power. And I'll listen to great authors like Joe Dispenza, Sadhguru, Sri Ramana Maharishi, Alan Watts, John DeMartini. I listen to great teachers that inspire me to become a more unique and greater expression of myself. I want to talk about how perfection can be dangerous. The pursuit of being perfect often leads to a sense of inadequacy, self-criticism, and failure. We're trying to live up to unrealistic standards that either we believe or society believes are right for us. I believe that in order to be the greatest minister in the world, I should have a 4.0 graduating from my ministerial stuff. Well, that's stupid. Why does that make me a better minister? What's that got? Here it is. Here's the big one. What's that got to do with me being heart-centered? I think the greatest tool of being a minister, a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, a carpenter, a nurse, whatever it is to be heart-centered. Because if you're living heart-centered, you're living the most authentic life you can live. And how do you measure that? There's not a way to measure it, but you do know it. Heart-centered is always about acceptance of life the way it is. It's always about giving more life when you have the ability to give more life. It's about seeing everyone as perfect, unique, and whole. You see, perfectionism often isolates us from others while creating a false image of how we must be, which prevents us from being our authentic selves. In ministry, I'm pretty earthy in my talk. In my Sunday talks like this, I'm not as earthy as I am in other talks. But I'm earthy because I want you to realize I'm not different from you. I'm just like you. I'm not going to create a false image that I'm holier than thou. That's ridiculous. That prevents me from connecting with you. I have an earthy side. I have a humble side. I have an arrogant side. I have all those things. Most of the time, I'm doing my best to be aware of them. A lot of times, I am consciously choosing to be earthy in a moment. Why do I like that? Because it brings out my sense of humor. I think we need to laugh more. I think when we laugh more, we let go of this sense of perfectionism. Perfectionism holds us back. Will you connect with someone that you know is not perfect? It was real interesting the other night on America's Got Talent. I normally don't watch it. My wife and son watch it. And they had this contestant come up, and it was time for bed. Gene says, I want to watch this contestant. I want to watch this contestant. So I had just come upstairs. I stopped and I watched. And it was a man in his probably mid-50s, missing teeth, fat, dressed sort of frumpy. And then I didn't hear the prelude, but he started to sing. And he's saying, don't stop believing. And it blew me away. It blew me away. This man's voice was beyond anything I could have ever imagined coming from him. And then when he finished, he got a standing ovation. And then I found out that he had been, for his career, a janitor in a middle school. And here he was in front of millions and millions of people with the gift of voice. Was he holding back his authentic self? And I looked and I said, good for you, buddy. You really stepped out of your comfort zone. You really followed your heart. And your heart didn't let you down. I felt good going to sleep that night. I felt so proud of that man. What an inspiration to see that. He didn't fit the image of what society said a singer should look like. But who gives a flip? He had the chops, and the chops did all the talking for him, didn't they? Our spiritual journey is not about becoming perfect, but rather about realizing our wholeness. Wholeness embraces all parts of ourselves, the light and the dark. It allows us to learn what love is. One of my teachers, Dr. John D. Martini, said there are 4,628 human traits, and every human being on the planet has every one of those traits. It's a matter of knowing that we have them and which ones are we going to accentuate. And here's the thing, don't deny you don't have a trait. It's there. You may choose not to use it. And that's okay. I choose not to be a murderer. I choose not to be a rapist. I choose to be an expression of love more than that. Sometimes I choose to be humble. Sometimes I'm just arrogant. I have all those traits. And when I accept myself in knowing I have all those traits, I understand what love is. The last thing I want to talk about is living authentically. When we live authentically, we let go of the need to be perfect and embrace who we truly are. It means to live in alignment with our highest values and consciously chosen beliefs, rather than conforming to societal expectations. Do you know what you believe? What are the most important things that you value? Did you really choose them? Or did you buy into what mom and dad or someone else gave you? One of the greatest lessons Dr. DeMartini taught me is to understand what my top 5 values are, the things I want most of in the world. Once I understood them, I made them the basis of every decision I make. All my beliefs center on them. And then here's what I also do. I reevaluate them every 6 months because you know what? I change. And when I change, my values could change as well. So I hope you gained something from this message today. And isn't it time that we embrace our uniqueness, live authentically, and create an experience of life that fulfills us? At the end of the day, when you can go to sleep and you can be grateful and you feel fulfilled, you've had a perfect day. Much love and aloha.